America is not what it once was. I've got some bad news for people who don't travel internationally. The world hates us, okay? We're not the big dogs. We don't have the clout that we once had. We aren't even like statistically on top of anything, education or anything anymore.
Let me tell you guys something with absolute certainty. The US empire is crumbling from within. People act like the last empire that fell was 1,000 years ago. No, it wasn't. It was Soviet Union, just 33 years ago. And before that, it was the British Empire that fell some 60 years ago. The downfall of the US is very near. And when the US empire crumbles and falls, Israel is going to go with it. And they have played a crucial role in bringing down the US. So celebrate that.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How are you doing? I hope you're doing fine wherever you are today. Now, a lot of white folks are getting to realize that it's never what they really thought they were, or the world doesn't revolve around them, because for the longest time that's what their history classes have been teaching them, and that's how they'll spread this even to black people in Africa, to think that they have been great. And when I talk about white people, it's a replica of the United States, because the United States have been for the white folks. It has never been for a melanated person. So people are getting to realize that things are changing. And you could see they are struggling to understand, why is this happening to me, yet I'm white? They get to realize that they are not that much great the way they were thought they were, or at least what history taught them. Because the history was written and was taught according to a white man's way. It wasn't written in what's really, it's the truth. They are struggling with what is called the cognitive dissonance, to accept that they are not great like what they believe to be. This video reveals a lot of things that I want us to watch, because when you talk about white people, we talk about the United States. The United States have been for white folks. So when the United States is falling, it means that it's falling with its own people. It's falling with the people who enjoyed the fruits of what melanated people who are in the United States worked for. So watch this video, tell me what you think. I want to know what you really feel about this, because people are complaining about the cost of living. People are complaining about how they thought they were great, but it turns out that nah, they ain't great. So watch this video. Reason as to why I always like posting this video is to enlighten a black folk somewhere who still lives in a world of thinking that white people are everything. No, they ain't, and this is not hate, this is just the truth. So watch the video, come back, and let's have a discussion about this.
So I think we can all agree at this point that the US is in serious decline. I've talked about it from the standpoint of education. I've talked about it from the standpoint of economy. You could talk about it from the standpoint of just about any way that we meet people's needs in this country. People are not getting their needs met. It's hard to say when this decline started. I think you could say that it even started in the 1970s, but I think it became apparent in 2016 when we democratically elected a right-wing demagogue, which is what countries in decline do. And I've been pretty clear since about last summer or so that my continuing to stay in this country is a choice to go through a very difficult time in history. And I also understand that the choice to stay is itself very privileged.
And I thought it was the UK that was on its arse. Seems like these Americans are really fucking struggling with the cost of living crisis. Check this video out. Tell me it don't break your heart. How can someone earning $80,000 a year be struggling to live? This is fucked.
Made, and we are literally the brokest we've ever been. Brokest we've ever been.
But I'm making the most money I ever had my entire life. My husband and I, between the two of us, gross, make like over $80,000 a year. And if you told me a few years ago that $80,000 a year was not going to be enough for a family of four.
I make more than what I made back in 2015. But I am still literally living paycheck to paycheck.
I have to work 60 hours a week and make $80,000 a year to make ends meet. That's insane. I can't even begin to wrap my head around it.
Financially, I don't understand anymore. I don't understand how I make $34 an hour and I can't function. I can't function. I can't pay my bills.
I don't know if y'all be reading and paying attention to the news, but the economy is in a terrible spot right now. I mean, you got major retail stores that are closing up hundreds of locations just this year. You got Walgreens closing over 150 stores. You got Macy's closing over 100 stores. Foot Locker closing over 400 stores. CVS Pharmacy is closing 900 stores. Family Dollar closing 600 stores. Route 21 closing 540 stores. I mean, the list goes on and on, from Best Buy, Dollar Tree, Express, even Walmart is closing down 7 of its supercenters. On top of that, you have the major layoffs. Like Google done already laid off almost 12,000 people. eBay just laid off 1,000 people. Microsoft just laid off 1,900 people. UPS just laid off 12,000 people. Like, bro, it's only May. Even Tesla is laying off over 10% of its entire workforce. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention Apple, a company that's worth $2 trillion, is closing 400 of its retail locations this year. I couldn't even tell y'all what all of that means, because truthfully, I don't even know myself. But if you anybody like me, you will find it ironic that it's all happening at once. But y'all let me know what y'all think.
I've traveled a lot internationally. Over COVID, obviously, I stopped. And there's always been an underlying tone that America is dangerous. But, you know, we run Hollywood, so a lot of the media that is consumed by people in other countries is still American. However, I'm on my first international trip since COVID, and it has gotten worse. I have heard from every nationality that America is dangerous, but I arrived in Indonesia, which is a country that, you know, a lot of people aim to get out of and go to America. And the first thing that my taxi driver says to me is that he's afraid of America because of all the poppy seeds that we're taking and all the jazz powder that people are using. And he's convinced that people are walking around the US like zombies, because that's what's on the internet. That's what these people are seeing. And I think it's a really big lesson if you are sheltered and are not leaving the US. We don't got it. Like, we don't got it anymore. People don't want to live in America. People aren't eager to live in America. When I was in Europe, a lot of the kids said their parents wouldn't let them go to America because they were afraid they were going to get popped by the police. Like, those are the fears. The only fear that Americans have when their children travel overseas is that they're going to be, like in the movie Taken, which is a very small possibility. And they just use that as a fear. I don't even, like, that's not really even a founded fear. People aren't taking Americans when we go, because you know how big of a hell case they would raise if some little white girl went missing? That's not what's happening. But what is happening is other people from other nations are going to America and bad things are happening to them. So, just a reminder, we ain't shit. We ain't shit.
I left the US 8 months ago, and something that shocked me is that nobody likes America except for Americans. And even a lot of Americans don't like America. When I learned that people have no interest in visiting the US, I was shocked, because I thought, isn't the US one of the best countries in the world? But I think that's what they teach us in the US. People think Americans are loud, disrespectful, unruly, obnoxious, pretentious. One of my European friends said, you know, I typically refuse to hang out with Americans, but you're all right. When Americans come to Japan, they're usually shocked that Japanese people don't speak a lot of English at all. And they'll say, why don't they speak English? But you're coming to someone else's country where they speak their language. Why don't you learn their language if you want to visit their country? For some reason, we also have to measure everything differently. Feet, inches, miles, pounds, Fahrenheit. When everyone else in the world uses meters, kilos, and Celsius.
For those of you that don't understand how truly awful the US has become, I'm gonna put it into perspective for you. I saw my aunt yesterday and she told me a story that absolutely blew my mind. And it's really hard to tell me a story about the evil that America is right now that surprises me. But this surprised me. It's on another level. So my aunt is a realtor, and she had a client in the past that she sold a second farm to. He is a farmer and he raises cattle, making an honest living, and so his original farm wasn't big enough for all of his cattle, so he had to get a second farm. And then his wife got pregnant, and then a medical emergency happened. So basically, the baby was born extremely prematurely, and the wife almost died, but that's a separate issue. And so I want you to guess. I want you to formulate a number in your head about how much you think it cost for that baby to be in the hospital for 4 months because it was a premature baby. Take a minute, think about it. $900,000. Almost $1 million. What small-time, small business owner, farmer has $1 million? So now he has to sell his second farm, he has to sell some of those cattle, and for what? So his baby could survive. America, right? So pro-life, huh?
And I guess I'm making this video partly as a caution and partly as a call to action. As a country declines, there is this pattern of insane concentration of wealth, and those who own the wealth start to engage in a lot of corruption in order to keep the wealth going. And where there once was order and maybe some facade that there was not that much corruption, that is all gone, and the people who are in the middle and the upper middle economically start to get swallowed up by the wealth inequality. And the typical reaction of people who are supposed to have privilege in the society is that they will fight very hard to maintain that position. And so my caution is to let you know that we are not at that place in history where we elect a different representative. We're at that part of history where we rewrite the way that government works, the way that education works, the way that economy works. It's a much bigger change. We're waiting and holding on while this current thing crumbles. We're not building anything. And for those of us who are more privileged, it is time for us to let go of our privilege and some belief that we are supposed to have more money than the people who are marginalized in our society. One of the ways that marketing gets at us is that it throws the wealth inequality in our face and tells us that we need to pretend that we have more money than we have. And most people are just going around pretending that they are in okay financial shape.
In most other countries, people work 6 or 7 days a week, and they're usually working 10, 11, 12 hours a day because that's what it takes to provide for your family. Whereas here, instead of telling people that you can work more and get a better lifestyle, people are conditioned to thinking, here's the only amount of work that I'm going to do. I'm not going to work outside of this 40 hours, and I need my lifestyle to continue growing. How does that make sense? How does it make sense that your ambition does not match your needs or your wants?
Hey, what's up, America? Stores going away because nobody has any money. So for the last 5 or 6 years, you have seen nothing but retail stores, food places, and all kinds of shopping locations go out of business nationwide. Thousands upon thousands of stores are now gone. Now, a lot of people blame Amazon. Recently, a lot of people blame not having any money to shop anywhere. And in reality, it's both of those things, also corporate greed as well. But now that all these stores across the country are starting to close, and next year we're going to have what's called a retail apocalypse, I have a question for everybody. What are you going to do in this country when you effectively have no retail business or general business of any kind because it's all been closed? So what is this country going to look like when there's no malls, no retail stores, everything has to be delivered? Hell, even the grocery stores are going to go away, so there's going to be less choice, less places to shop at. Those locations will have less products. They'll have the shit that makes them the most profit, of course. And it's just a general overall degradation of the country. Now, I know back in the 90s and 2000s, you probably thought this day would never come, and you probably thought this day would be awesome when it did come. Hey, there's going to be no malls and no retail and no stores. This is going to be great. We destroyed capitalism, right? But now that all that's going to be gone, what's fucking left? Nothing. Nothing's fucking left because that's all America was. So you got rid of all the retail and all the stores and all the profiteering, only to leave the companies that are left making the most profit and having almost no choice now because it's all gone. So instead of 10 box stores, you have 2 or 3 to choose from. Instead of 100 food choices, you have 10. Instead of 12 pharmacies, you have 2. So do you see how this is not good? In your effort to try to destroy the world and bring in a new form of American socialism, You've destroyed the nation totally. Eventually this place will become eventually this country will turn into a better functioning Soviet Union where you'll have just as many choices. You like brown shoes or black? Those are your choices. Which state-controlled pharmacy or state-controlled grocery store do you want to go to? I don't know about you. I liked it better the way it was in the 80s and 90s. This shit sucks, asshole.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? I think you're great. I think you're fine wherever you are. Now, it is evident, it is open, it is up there in the public that indeed the United States is struggling. And there are a couple of things that they are going through. There are a couple of things that are happening that really proves that everything that is going on, or everything that these people are going on. And I said, I'm not trying to spread hate to anybody. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you a perspective. For instance, as an African who have grown so much and seeing people who are older than me talking about the American dream, talking about how they just want to finish school, get their certificates, and get the hell out of Africa, right? But now this is because what the media has been selling to Africans or black people in Africa, it's something that it's really perfect and at the same time far-fetched. When they got there, they get to realize that it ain't the truth. Right now, if you ask me if I'll advise an African to go to the United States to work, I won't recommend him to go there. Because one, there's a lot of crazy things that are happening. The mass deportations that are happening for the illegal immigrants and all those stuff, leave alone talking about racism and fascism, that is going on, that has been embedded. These are the fabrics of the United States. These are things that are happening day in, day out, and you don't want to find yourself in these places. These are places where some people are still in disbelief that they are not the rulers, they are the ruled. And the world is finding a way of ruling it. And you know how? Through the oligarchs. Because initially, when you look at history, there was nothing like white and black. And now the elites came and say that, no, I'm going to be giving a white person a higher stand over a black person, to give him an illusion that is great, to give him this virus that is great. And now white folks grew knowing that they're great because they're enjoying all these things. When you look at the lives of white people, because we had poor white folks and poor black folks, what? And they stood and they were together and they were talking about all their grievances. They were giving all their grievances. And now the elites were afraid. And the elites say that, you know what we're going to be doing? Let's create races. Let's create, let's put a black person below the hierarchy. Let's put a white person below the hierarchy. And how did they do this? They started giving white folks advantages. What today we called white privilege. Right? So when you understand how all these things came into interplay, you get to understand who is the real evil and who taught his own people a wrong history. And now when the reality hits, and now when reality comes out and people are complaining, everyone is going helter-skelter, the economy is falling down, there is so much instability, there is so much, a lot of things that are happening, people question, America has been the greatest. We white folks are running America. White folks call the shots. But it is not the same. Because look, the elites are not your friend. Whether you're a white person, whether you're a black person. And an elite is not a white person. An elite is not a black person. These are all mixed people. At least not for the elites that you know, like people like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. Name all of them, right? This is something that has been in the public domain. And history teachers are trying to tell you this, but I know the culture of the United States is to censor its media, right? And so when this happens, a lot of students are in shock to get to know the truth. And in reality, it's true that America is falling, and it's falling so hard with these people. It's really falling so hard with people who leaned on the advantages, the people who leaned on the privileges that they were given, thinking that this would last for a long time. I mean, take a look. How many black lands were grabbed? How many black people were displaced? How many black cities were wiped by water, artificially designed to do what it's doing? How many? You'll find that it is a lot, and a lot has been happening, right? So just to say, what's really going on is that people are getting to wake up right now. It is a wake-up call for people to get to know the truth. For honestly people to really not get what is understanding, right? And I'm thankful that time heals everything. Like, who knew when all that Jim Crow was happening? Who knew when there's so much colonization in Africa? Who knew Africans, black people, melanated people across the world will rise? Nobody ever knew. But as I said, time usually heals everything. And the truth is coming out. The truth is setting white folks free. They are complaining. They're disillusioned because this is a state where people are feeling they are hopeless. They're losing their jobs. They don't have a job. Well, the same exact script is what black folks have been living for the longest time. So tell me how you feel. Tell me what to think about this. I'm going to be seeing you in my next video. But until then, peace, love, and harmony.